that maybe Paul Heyman is about to affiliate himself with Seth Rollins. And I'm not gonna lie, if they do that, then I'll shut up. Like, I'll just let it be. If that is what happened, I would like to see that, because I honestly do believe that Seth Rollins needs that type of catalyst. I think that might be the thing that's missing from Seth Rollins as well. Adding Paul Heyman to his side, that could definitely do that. So if that's the route they go, I'll just shut up, and then I will tell y'all that I'm wrong. I will come back after WrestleMania, and when we do the review, I'll say that I'm wrong, because just by them putting Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins, that would make all of it worth it, in my opinion. Other than that, it's stupid. Hey, what can I say? I'm a man of my word, and I'm a true fan and a real man. And I said that if I was wrong, I'd be the first one to admit it. Some of my critiques were still there. Some of the way I felt was still there, but overall, WrestleMania was a good event. And I gotta congratulate those guys, Triple H, everybody over at WWE, the competitors, of course. It was a special night, you know, and again, that's all I ask for as a true fan. Like, WrestleMania is just, it's the Super Bowl, and me just being a fan for so long, like, I can't describe it. I think me being a sports fan is something about sports that inspire me, you know, because if you guys follow my channel, Full-Time Digital House, you can see that I'm a competitor in my own right, a former artist, a current music producer, amongst other things. So with that being said, when I watch sports or TV shows or just even people in real life, when I see people on top of their game and really doing what they love and taking their craft to the next level, it inspires me. That's the thing about being a real artist that I believe. You don't hate on other artists. You don't hate on other people that's great. You learn from them. When I see the biggest events, the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, WrestleManias, these are the times where champions are made, where history is made. So you could also say I'm just a big fan of history. You know, I love seeing things that we haven't seen before. And, you know, that's where my critique was at from previous episodes, is because we've saw it so long, it seemed like we're seeing the same things. And I'm not going to sit here and critique it in a bad way today, because that was true. What I was feeling was true in a way. But overall, you know, I still give the show an A. I still give it an A, because it did manage to capture that emotion, you know, and it inspired me. But in case we didn't say so, I'm Southside Tre. This is Worldwide Classic, Ep.3. And yeah, congratulations WrestleMania, congratulations WWE, congratulations Triple H. Everybody was talking about, just like myself, everybody was saying how underwhelming or how a lot of the matches didn't make sense. But Triple H made it make sense. As you guys seen, leading into today's show, I made some comments on the second episode. And when I was speaking about the triple threat match, that main event at night one, I said that the only way that would make sense to me is if they had Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman align. And they had Paul Heyman forget about CM Punk and Roman Reigns and join Seth Rollins in his mission to bring justice to the WWE. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. So like I said, I'll be the first one to admit when I was wrong. And I was wrong, because now I'ma just shut up. That made everything come together. This is the only way. This was the only way that main event would have made sense. And now that we seeing other things that's happening in WWE, now a lot of things make sense because of that match and because of the results of that match. And it was just executed perfectly. Like, let me just say that. Like, we're going to go back and we're going to review a couple matches from WrestleMania. But I got to just start here because, again, this was the thing that tied everything together. Was the night one main event, Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And they delivered. And, you know, even though I was critical of the match because I didn't want to see this per se, I did allude to the fact that if anybody could pull this match off, it'll be those three guys. So I do want to give those guys a round of applause because it was just a great match. It was a great match. I got my notes. There's a couple things in there I want to touch on in particular in case I forget it. But just off what I remember, just off my memory, one thing that stood out was just when Roman Reigns put both guys through a table. They had the regular announce table and they had the Spanish announce table, and he put CM Punk through one table and he put Seth Rollins through another table. I love stuff like that because, like I said, it's WrestleMania 41. It's 2025. If he just would have put one guy through a table, then that's just like every other match that we see. Somebody goes through a table at least once a match, almost. Even though it was still just an extra guy being put through another table, it was just the subtle difference. It was just something that we usually don't see. And then we're seeing it from the top guy. And it was just something about it. It was just something about the ingredients at that time being mixed together that just made that spot like really work for me. Like that moment was a moment for me. I really loved it. And maybe because Seth Rollins was at his best. He said that he was Mr. WrestleMania before in the past. And that's something that you have to earn. So when he said it originally, I didn't give him that title. That's something that has to be earned. After his performance at this year's WrestleMania 41, I think it's safe to say Seth Rollins is Mr. WrestleMania. And the things that he was doing in that match, one thing that stood out, again, going back to the table spot, the thing that set up that spot was Seth Rollins was having a conference with Roman Reigns in the ring. And he was telling Roman Reigns that CM Punk was the problem and that they needed to eliminate him after the match. That way they could do what they needed to do. And it's just something about it. It was something about the way that it was delivered from Seth Rollins where I was like, it's happening before my very eyes. He's about to go to that next level. And I think I was alluding to this in a previous episode as well. Like, as good as Rollins is in the ring, and he's probably one of the best in the ring, the character still needed some work to take it to that superstar level. Because you have stardom and you have superstardom. And he's always been a star. But now WrestleMania solidified him as a superstar, in my opinion. Not only the Paul Heyman switch, but just the subtle differences, like in this spot when he was talking to Roman Reigns. It's weird because it actually reminded me of Roman Reigns, because when Roman Reigns started his reign, when he started his run as the longest reigning champion, one thing that stood out to me about his work was that he was more vocal in the ring. He was making it a point to talk to his opponents in the ring, and you were able to hear it. Like, it's almost like they had it mic'd for you to hear it, to hear the conversation he was having. So it's almost like they were adding an element of like dialogue, like a TV show or something. But if it's done right, it works. And Roman Reigns made it work, so it didn't seem like over the top or too corny at the time, because the things that he was saying, like, it was gold. And then it brings me back to WrestleMania this year, Saturday night, and Seth Rollins, when he was talking to Roman Reigns, I was getting that same type of feeling. Like, Rollins is really getting comfortable in this version of his role, because now, like I alluded to, and again, it's not to toot my own horn and to say that I told you so. I just want my fans to know that when you watch this program, when you watch Worldwide Classics, we know what we talking about over here. So to go back to it, all of the ingredients that I said that Rollins needed to go to that next level, Triple H, like an expert, because I got to give him his credit. I can't just be critical before and then not give him the credit where the credit is due. It was expertly applied to this situation. All of those ingredients that I named. And Seth Rollins is being comfortable in that role because this is his true role, is the visionary. And like I said before in the previous episode, it's more than just saying it. Talk is talk. You got to show and prove. And Seth Rollins has been showing and proving now. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited about the direction that the WWE is going in. Just because of that one angle. Roman Reigns was the top guy. And in a way, it's like Roman Reigns just passed the torch to Seth Rollins. It's like everything that they used to build the Roman Reigns character that we all love, the tribal chief, just like that, they copied and pasted all of that aura to Seth Rollins. And it works. It doesn't feel like a cheap tactic just to get Rollins to the next move. It actually authentically feels like the progression of this story. And one thing that I want to say too, if this was the plan all along, meaning like even before Paul Heyman got with Roman Reigns, if the plan was to always go this way, meaning that eventually when Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman split, that Seth Rollins will get an opportunity to work with Paul Heyman, again, to me, I got to give credit where credit is due. Now, I might be giving too much benefit of the doubt because that might have not have been the plan. But if that was the plan while they was drawing up the tribal chief character, whoever put all of this together is a genius, and they deserve a lot of recognition and a lot of credit. The fact that it's almost like you're letting every guy in the Shield work with Paul Heyman. And it's so ironic because Paul Heyman is the guy who was involved in their original storyline with the Shield. Paul Heyman and CM Punk were together when the Shield was formed. And originally, they were going to go with the Shield being the bodyguards for Punk and Paul Heyman. So, that's what brought all of this together, even with the triple threat match. I just didn't like how it came about. But now that it's all said and done and we went this way, now it's kind of like, okay, now we're getting back to the long-term storytelling of the original thing with the Shield and CM Punk. And it was beautiful to watch. Like, the execution of it was perfect because you could do certain angles, but when it's executed perfectly. And one thing about Roman Reigns that I need to point out real quick, it's a reason why Roman Reigns was at the top of the business for 5 years straight, holding the title and dominating the way he did. He has all of the ingredients and the elements within the professional wrestling business. Even when us as fans can't see it, we see what he's good at and what he's great at, but it's the little things. It's the devil being in the details. It's the selling. It's the IQ. It's the way he positions himself in the ring for things to happen. And even when he gave Roman Reigns the chair and then Roman Reigns was setting up to hit Seth Rollins with the chair, it's just all of the ways, like, it's just the little things that Roman Reigns is doing to set it up. Because a lot of times when it's about to be a swerve or somebody's about to turn their back on the other person or a surprise angle is about to happen, it's usually kind of like generic how some of the wrestlers set up for it, if that make any sense. For any of the fans, they might know what I'm saying. Like, maybe I'm going too deep into this topic, but it's usually kind of generic, just the little things that guys are doing in the ring to set up to the finish. But Roman Reigns in this moment getting ready for Paul Heyman to swerve him and turn his back on him, it was just him talking to Seth Rollins and getting ready to hit him with the chair, and he was savoring the moment. You could see that he was really excited about getting the chance to get Seth Rollins in his way. So it didn't even feel generic. It actually felt like it was an authentic thing that he was doing. He wasn't just standing around and just buying time. I think that's a better way to put it. He wasn't just buying time for the surprise angle to happen. It actually looked at like a natural progression in the match. And again, this is just a credit to Roman Reigns. Like I say, like, if you really pay attention to his work, those little details, and I see why the WWE, again, why they're so high on Roman Reigns. And you wouldn't probably be able to see it with the naked eye. Roman Reigns just does everything right, basically. Let's just go ahead and make a long story short story long. He just does everything right. Everything that needs to happen to sell these stories, he makes it look real and he makes it look right. And it seems like obviously all wrestlers should be able to possess that ability. But, it's one of those things. It's like, you just get better as time goes. You try to perfect that. It's like any craft. Some people are just the best at their craft. Roman Reigns is just really the best at that. But the thing that I loved about this match was Seth Rollins is starting to show me those exact traits now. Because when it comes to actual wrestling, he's always at the right place at the right time. He makes everything look like poetry in motion. He's already established himself as Mr. WrestleMania. But now that we're putting the character work in behind it, that's why Shawn Michaels dominated his generation, is because he was able to put the two together. He had the in-ring work, but then the character matched. It was always a comparison between Shawn Michaels and Seth Rollins. But again, for me, that has to be earned. So I wasn't quick to give that comparison, and I never did. I'm still not really giving it now because because Rollins doesn't have to be Shawn Michaels. But I'm starting to see him get to a place where he could be that guy. Like Shawn Michaels dominated his era. WrestleMania 12 was main evented by Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. And these two are arguably the best wrestlers that ever did it. It depends on who's watching. It's subjective. But for my opinion, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are two of the greatest that ever did it. So that's why when I say I've been watching WrestleMania since WrestleMania 12, it's not even just me trying to say that it's been almost 30 years. I'm trying to explain to people that WrestleMania 12 was headlined by two of the greatest. Two of the greatest were like every wrestler that we see since WrestleMania 12 has been influenced by Shawn Michaels. But I just had to talk about Shawn Michaels in this episode to get back to Seth Rollins. Now we're about to see Seth Rollins go into this role, hopefully. Like, it looks like we're heading in that direction. I felt like as soon as the big reveal happened with Paul Heyman double-crossing Roman Reigns, even just the look and the body language of Seth Rollins, and like everything is clicking now. And it's funny because it's almost like exactly what I was saying in the previous episode. This is like a version of the Monday Night Messiah character. Like the way that he's looking, the attitude, the body language, the conversations he's having. This is like a remixed version of the Monday Night Messiah in a great way. And he just looked like a star instantly. As soon as the moment happened, he just looked different to me, like superstar. That's all I could think about was finally, this man is about to be the superstar that he's been patiently waiting to be. Because that's another part of this dynamic that's interesting to me. He was the first one out of the Shield to win a WWE championship. So originally it looked like he was fast-tracked to be the best out the group and the greatest in the WWE. But then just like that, Roman Reigns ended up taking the throne and then staying in the throne for a long time, to the point where Seth Rollins was almost in the background. And sometimes I feel like it was a little bit unjust and unfair, for whatever reason, like, because he was still having good matches. But guys like that, they want to be the best. And not that they're jealous of each other, like they guys. And that's the thing about when you want to be the best. You align yourself with guys that are the best. You keep yourself around that type of company. You're only as good as the company you keep. So again, that's why I love the Shield, because all three guys, in my opinion, were the best. And they still are. When you really look at professional wrestling, even Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. John Moxley at AEW, he's at the top of AEW as their world champion. Seth Rollins has almost taken the background. We talking about almost 5 or 6 years where Seth Rollins really had to take a back seat in terms of being the face of the company and the main guy. So I'm happy for Seth Rollins. This is his time now. And I just see the confidence. I see everything that's going on. Let me pivot real quick, because again, I'm a true fan, so I just think about moments out the blue. And I'm a Bray Wyatt guy. Like I said, Bray Wyatt guy. That's one of my favorite wrestlers because of the character. So I remember that Bray Wyatt, he had a feud with Seth Rollins previously when before Bray Wyatt became the Fiend. Just as the regular Bray Wyatt character, he had a short feud with Seth Rollins. And I remember in that, they had a promo on Monday Night Raw, and Bray Wyatt, he told this man,
I mean, look at you. You're just oozing arrogance all over the place, man.
And it was just something about that line, because that's really Seth Rollins. Like, he really does have, like, not to say like he's arrogant, but he does have that, that swag, if you will, of just somebody that's extremely confident. Like, he knows he's the man. He knows he's one of the best wrestlers without a shadow of a doubt. And I love that line from Bray Wyatt. Like, it always stuck with me. And so to fast forward to now, that very line, that's what we're seeing from Seth Rollins now. The facial expressions, the attitudes, the way that he's just gesturing to the crowd. Because just like Roman Reigns, when these guys were first given the spotlight to have a singles run, you could tell that it just wasn't clicking for both guys. Like, Roman Reigns' character was kind of corny. Seth Rollins' character was kind of corny. And he was winning world championships at that time, Seth Rollins but the character just wasn't connecting. It was just stale. And the same thing with Roman Reigns when he was the big dog. It was just, it was stale. It wasn't connected at all. And the promos wasn't as great because it was almost like those guys were unsure of themselves. Even being in the top spot, you could see that the confidence wasn't 100% previously. But ever since Paul Heyman has been introduced to these guys in a singles run, it's almost like Paul Heyman has some type of magic in the wrestling business because he's been doing this ever since the ECW days. He has to be one hell of a motivator. And you can see that. Like when you watch some of the behind the scenes stuff in the WWE, that's why Paul Heyman has been in the business this long and he's been at the top of the business this long. It's because he's a wrestling genius. But not only that, he's like a great coach, I believe. I don't think they ever compare it to that or make a parallel to coaching. But I'm a sports fan, and in my opinion, he's like a Nick Saban. He's like a Bill Belichick. He's like a Phil Jackson. He has this ability to just bring the best out of people. And he's been doing that, again, since ECW days, before guys had even turned into superstars, before guys were even household names. He was giving these guys the speeches and the motivation that they need to get to that next level. A lot of guys that we're looking at that are future Hall of Famers, if they're not in the Hall of Fame already, Paul Heyman has had a direct connection to these guys at one point or another. So if we really look at what's going on now, that's pretty damn impressive, man, that it's 2025 and every time that he really sees something in somebody to the point that he's working directly with them, they're first ballot Hall of Famers. CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and now Seth Rollins. He rarely makes mistakes when he sees something in a potential superstar. So just the fact that he's aligning himself with Seth Rollins at this moment, Seth Rollins has been missing certain ingredients. And to add a guy like Paul Heyman to the mix, just like that, Seth Rollins, he just looks like a star. He looks like a superstar now. But Seth Rollins is, like, for me, like the top guy in my opinion. And so to see him get this spotlight, I mean, what can I say, man? Like I said, I'm extremely proud as a true fan. Like, I'm proud of Rollins. I'm proud of what's happening. Thank you, Triple H. I appreciate this as a true fan. Like, this is all I ask for. It's just moments like these, because not only did CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins make that match work, it made it a classic. Not only was the match good, but it was a classic. And not only was it a classic, it gave me the moments that I talk about. So I got a 2-for-1 for the night one main event of WrestleMania. So that's why I had to give these people a round of applause when we started the program today, because they really do deserve that. They really do deserve flowers for making that what it was. So it was just a few more things that I wanted to point out about the CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins match. One thing that stuck out to me again was right after Seth Rollins hit the frog splash on Roman Reigns and CM Punk at the same time, it was a camera shot of the crowd in the ring, and I just love that shot. Like I'm a true fan of like all aspects of this, and that camera shot was perfect because it's something about that shot that it emphasized to me the importance of WrestleMania. Like, WrestleMania just has this presence about it. It has this aura about it to me. The look and feel of it. It makes it feel like, it's something about the presentation of it. And that camera shot, it really did solidify like my point about just how important WrestleMania is, in my opinion. So, if you guys watch that match again, I recommend just that shot. Because again, it's the little details. I talked about Rollins and I talked about Roman Reigns a little bit, but I didn't speak about CM Punk at all. So let me go ahead and just speak on that briefly. The thing with CM Punk is, obviously, you guys knew that I wanted him to win the World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther at WrestleMania 41. That would have been my pick. But in this triple threat match, it was a great match and it was a classic. And of course, guys like Punk can deliver because he's one of the best to do it. I like this match for Punk because, to my surprise, one thing that I didn't really factor into the match until I saw it was, I was proud of this for CM Punk because it showed that CM Punk could hang with the best wrestlers of this generation. And I had never took that into account before because to me it's obvious, you know what I mean? And I'm a Punk fan, so I don't think nothing of it. Of course I think CM Punk can hang with the best wrestlers in the world because like his moniker or like his signature says, he is the best in the world. So it's not a surprise, but as a true fan, we all know the certain injuries that people go through and the fact that he's getting a little older in the sport. It hasn't slowed him down or stopped him. So again, I'm not surprised, but I was just proud. I was proud that he was just on that level still. And then again, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, they've grown leaps and bounds from the last time that these guys were in the ring with each other in any capacity. So it was just kind of special to me for those reasons because CM Punk, again, he kind of started that Shield movement with Paul Heyman. It just never came to fruition with everybody, but he was one of the sparks that gave us the Shield. So it's just kind of like poetry to see him 12 years later have this type of match with those two because they actually did turn into the best. Not only just because they were involved in the same storyline, it was because he saw something in them. You know, well, even though this kind of a different story, he originally chose Chris Hero to be his third member, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and then Chris Hero. So Punk didn't necessarily choose Roman Reigns to be in the Shield, but the WWE, Vince McMahon, he chose Roman Reigns to be in the Shield instead of Chris Hero. But again, that's just another story for more technical and more fans who's really deep into it. The point is, he really didn't have a direct hand in Roman Reigns being in the Shield, CM Punk that is. But it's still kind of like, I'm going to still give him kind of like that credit because they had a promo when they were trying to show that it might be a little dissension in the Shield, where it might be a little bit of issues with the guys in the Shield. And CM Punk, he was being vocal about that. And he was trying to create problems for the Shield. And he told Roman Reigns in a promo long ago that he felt like Roman Reigns was the strongest one in the Shield, and he felt like Roman Reigns was being held back by Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. And even though he was just doing that to just cause trouble, it's still ironic how their careers turned out, the Shield, because Roman Reigns ended up being the top guy ultimately. And again, for us that's really like into it, the true fans, that really know too much more than we should. We know that CM Punk was instructed to do that, was instructed to say those things about Roman Reigns because the company really wanted to push Roman Reigns, and they wanted Punk to be somebody to spearhead that. Having the popularity that Punk had, they wanted him to be vocal about how good Roman Reigns was. So anyway, back to it. It was just a special thing to see these people that CM Punk essentially were pushing these guys to be in this position one day. CM Punk was basically the catalyst for the Shield to be in main event spots in the future because he really did respect those guys, and CM Punk knows professional wrestling. That's why I'm a big fan of his, and I said that before in a different episode, is because not only is he good in the ring, he's good in the ring, but his IQ is through the roof. And he likes to just see the business do well. So even if he see other wrestlers that are good, he gives them advice and he wants to see them be stars. And you think that would be everybody, but as we all know, even in life, everybody don't want to see everybody do well. Everybody's not a fan. Everybody's not going to go out their way to help you get to the next level, is what I'm saying. So we all know that. It's no different in professional wrestling than it is in any sport. And I come from the world of music. I come from hip-hop/rap, and we see what that is right now. Everybody is an enemy. Everybody a op. You know what I mean? So this is another reason why I love professional wrestling, because these are people that know how to keep the stupid over there and keep the main thing, and that's doing what you love to do and making money while you do it, so you could take care of your family and make history. So I wish that my community in the hip-hop world could take notes from professional wrestling, you know. So to go back to it, this is a reason why, is because guys like CM Punk, when you have legends in your business, they take the time to go out and help the newer generation get to that level. Like, it's no cockiness, it's no arrogance. It's just a genuine love for that particular business or sport. And in hip hop, I hope we could get there one day as well. So again, being from Chicago, like, Punk always is just a guy who, he's a Chicago guy. You could just tell even when you just hear him talk. Like, Chicago, we don't hold our tongue. We just say how we feel. We don't care what people think about what we say. We're going to speak how we feel, you know, and we're not just going to say just anything. We're going to speak from a place of wanting to get the best out of the situation or out of a person. You know what I mean? That's one thing about us, whether it's in sports or anything. Chicago always wants to get the best out of it. So CM Punk, he exemplifies that. So that's why I always want to see CM Punk do well. That's why I always want to see him perform well and compete well in anything that he does. So to see him at the top level like this at WrestleMania, it was just a special thing to see, because he hasn't lost a step. Like, no matter what he's been through, he could still go toe-to-toe with whoever you put him in a ring with. And I know it just had to be an honor to be in there with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. You know, even though he was the man, even though CM Punk was the man, when Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were just really starting to break into the WWE and make a name for themselves, now in the future, you know, we're seeing the results of that. Those guys, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, they showed the commitment. And 12 years later, they are being rewarded. And it's nice to see CM Punk thrown in there so we all could be reminded what Punk is capable of. So for that, again, man, I said I was going to shut the hell up if they had Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins. But even more than that, I got to just shut the hell up and accept the fact that it was a classic just because of the action. They still needed Paul Heyman to get with Seth Rollins for me to completely shut the hell up. But the match was a good match. Like, the match really was a classic. And that's what I asked for. When you go back and watch, I said that I hope that it does be the classic that it can be. You know, and it did turn into that. This will be one of those matches that I could go back to and say, yeah, that triple threat match was a great one. Because since I'm on the topic, the only other triple threat match at WrestleMania that really stood out to me even to this day, and that match would be Shawn Michaels versus Triple H versus Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20. That match was a classic, just hands down. And it was a different type of classic. And a lot of times, you know, we're a prisoner of the things we grew up on. So that's why with this match, I was even critical. And I never even pointed that out, because that was a more deeper thing to get into. And we still get into that another day. But it's like I've already had matches in my mind that I know were classics. So I'm already having a certain expectation. And that match from WrestleMania 20 with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Chris Benoit, that kind of set the bar for me when it came to triple threat championship matches or any triple threat match at WrestleMania. Because I believe at that time, that was the original triple threat match. I don't believe that there ever was a triple threat match, at least for the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that was the first time they had a triple threat match for the title. But that triple threat match set the tone for me when it came to future matches. And to fast forward, WrestleMania 41, Punk, Rollins, Reigns, they delivered. And I was just proud of CM Punk. CM Punk stood in there and he showed people what he was capable of. And I know that's something that he's proud of, because not only did he main event, but you were in there against the greatest of this generation. And the thing that they're about to do with Seth Rollins, for you to even just be a part of that. Because again, this is a moment. This was those moments that I was talking about. We got one. I couldn't be more proud, because we're about to see the best out of Rollins, and it's still more to see from Roman Reigns, and Punk is just a part of this as ever. Punk is right in the middle of all of this still. So I love this. I love this for all three guys. I love this for us as fans. I'm going to stop talking about this. One thing that I do want to point out in this match about the actual moves, the move that stuck out to me the most was when Seth Rollins countered Roman Reigns' spear into the pedigree. Now, this is something that we've seen before if you followed these two and them having singles matches. Once Seth Rollins was gifted the pedigree by Triple H once upon a time, then we started to see this, we started to see this in matches between these two. We started to see this in the matches with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns previously. And the last time that they had a singles match, to my knowledge, was the Royal Rumble of 2020. And that was a classic. So if you haven't seen it or don't remember it, I recommend that match as well. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at 2020 Royal Rumble. That was the last time I believe they had a singles match, and they had been working on that move for a while, because obviously it was new. It was something new that they were introducing. And each time it got better. You could tell that it wasn't fully perfected, but it was still impressive. The fact that it was even being tried and done by Seth Rollins, which is why he's one of the best. And like I say, Roman Reigns too. Let me say that again. This is why I said what I said about both guys. To even be able to pull off a move like this, to counter the spear into a pedigree, this is why I keep saying about the details. And I mentioned it with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. And this is why you haven't seen other competitors pull this move off. It's not that easy to do. And they've done it over time, and it's got better each time. But I could honestly say that at WrestleMania 41, they perfected that move. They perfected the counter of the spear into the pedigree. It was perfected that night. That was the best one of them all, and it was just perfect. I don't know if they will ever be able to do that move like that again, because it was so perfect. That's why if you listen to my previous episode, I would have preferred to see those two go against each other at a later WrestleMania in a singles match, to really get down to who was the best of them all and to get that move then. But, that's just me nitpicking at this point, because they had to give us that match to set up the Seth Rollins turn, I guess. I'm here at Worldwide Classics. I'm pretty sure I could have figured out a way to still get what I wanted, but I ain't gonna do that right now. That move was perfected that night. And then since I'm on the subject of moveset, the only other thing that stuck out to me as far as the moves, it was a segment where I can't remember how it went in what order, but basically all three guys hit their finishing moves on each other within 3 seconds. I think somebody got speared, or somebody got to go to sleep into a spear, and then somebody got stomped after it. I can't remember the exact sequence, but that sequence when everybody hit their finishing moves in succession within a few seconds, that was perfect. That really was perfect. And again, I love to see things that we haven't seen before. We haven't seen that before. Sure, we've seen guys do their finishing move in succession, but it's something about those three guys finishing moves and it being done in that sequence. It was just special. It really was just special. So again, man, just shout out to everybody in that match, and shout out to Triple H. You definitely shut me up. So if you shut me up, everybody else should be shutting the hell up too. You got it. Now, with all of that being said, now that I got that out the way and we rectified some things and we gave thanks, the rest of the night one was okay. You know what I'm saying? It was okay. I wasn't too far off the mark, but I do appreciate that every match still had a certain energy that I could appreciate. Even matches that I didn't agree with, the competitors still made it work. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I want to give all of the competitors, all of the wrestlers, I just want to congratulate you guys. Everybody killed it. Night one and night two. But night one, everybody killed it. Like I say, some matches, I felt like they should have been what it was, but for what it was, everything worked. Now, with that being said, we are going to get into some of the good and bad. It's just going to be a little bit of both. But before I pick up the notes, it is one thing that I remembered. I wanted to congratulate Michael Cole. They made the statement on commentary that this is his 28th WrestleMania. And I mean, come on, man. We can't do nothing but get this man some credit, because that's crazy. That's crazy when you really think about it, because not only, one thing is that made me feel old as hell. It really is. It really does. The fact that Michael Cole has commentated for 28 WrestleManias, I'm really about to be an old man out here. But that's a whole nother story too. The reason I say that though is because I've seen Michael Cole break into the WWE. Again, I've seen a lot of wrestlers break in. So it's just different this time because it's a commentator. Like I said, I've seen wrestlers get into the business, and then I love to see the progression of what they're doing and them getting into high profile spots. But I got to just go ahead and give it up for Michael Cole, because as a commentator, to do this that long at the level he's done it at, like, you rarely seen Michael Cole miss an event. Like, even that is like crazy to me. Every time you, like, when you really pay attention, Michael Cole hasn't missed a lot of time at the WWE. And these people operate all year. There's no off season. So that means he's the most available person. So he deserves all of the accolades. He deserves any type of position he has with that company. Like, he deserves it, man, because, you know, I said that JR and the King, they're my favorite commentating crew. And JR is my favorite commentator. But this doesn't take away anything from Michael Cole, because he's just as important to the WWE as those guys, and he's solidified himself time and time again. But just to hear that, you know, again, maybe I'm just a historian that never knew. To hear that 28 WrestleManias in, I mean, I've seen him, like I said, I saw him come into the WWE. He used to do a show called Live Wire on Saturday morning. It was like early, like from 8 to 9 or something like that, just an hour long. And it was just a recap, really, of what happened on Monday Night Raw, or just whatever happened that week. Because I don't even think SmackDown exists at the time. It was just Monday Night Raw and then the pay-per-views. And so whatever happened, Michael Cole hosted and did the show. And he just reviewed matches and he gave his opinions. And it was something I don't even know if people remember, because you rarely hear about that. We all just know him being a backstage interviewer, even before he got to the commentary booth. He was always the guy that the wrestlers like bullied and made fun of or picked on and harassed by the wrestlers. So even with that, man, just to see a guy that was like kind of used in that way, in like a comic relief way, and then fast forward all this time later, and he's an official power player at the WWE. And I love to see stuff like that. I love to see the underdog get the throne. And Michael Cole has done that. So again, congratulations to Michael Cole for that. That's incredible to hear that. And again, I love being inspired. That's inspirational, because I don't think he's nowhere close to slowing down. So who knows how long he'll be commentating before he ultimately decides to retire. So shout out to Michael Cole for that. So let's go ahead and dive into the action. So I just did a lot of praising, and I still want to keep it light and positive, but, you know, it's still some bad sides to it as well, because I don't understand how the Royal Rumble winner opens WrestleMania. I didn't like it when Seth Rollins did it at WrestleMania 35 against Brock Lesnar, when he won that year's Royal Rumble and opened WrestleMania. I hated it then, and I hate it now. Winning the Royal Rumble should not only solidify your title match for WrestleMania, but even if it's not the main event, because now so much is different with the two nights, it still just should not open the show. And to me, that took away from what the match could be, because I'm pretty sure over at WWE or anybody that runs live events, they know better than me. The opening match is important because it can set the tone for the entire show and the entire night. But at the same time, it's like you want to pace. You want to pace yourself throughout the night, because the crowd gets hot at a certain time. You know, the crowd has to get settled in. They have to get acclimated to the surroundings and to the adrenaline and everything that's happening. And so with that being said, how do we open the match with a world championship match? And then the guy who won the Royal Rumble on top of that, especially for the type of entrance that Jey Uso has. Like, maybe that was the reason in their mind at WWE that was the perfect way to open WrestleMania, was to get Jey Uso to get the crowd involved with his entrance to open up WrestleMania. So I could see that. I get it, but I just felt like it wasn't right. I felt like that was kind of stupid to do that. And maybe I'm just being biased because I'm a big Jey Uso fan, and I felt like this was just a special night for him. And as we'll get to in a minute, it still was a special night for Jey Uso, but for me, everything has to go. Everything has to fit into that for it to be successful. And for him to be the first one out, I felt like the crowd just wasn't even all the way there yet mentally. You know what I'm saying? Like, because usually when we see Jey Uso, and a lot of time he opens up Monday Night Raw, you know, but it's different in a stadium versus an arena. And maybe since I just said that, let me touch on that for a minute. Again, I understand why the WWE does certain things, but that don't mean that it's the right thing. It doesn't mean that it has to be that way. They don't have to do certain things every time. WrestleMania should be a mixture. Like, we should be able to have stadium shows as well as arena shows at WrestleMania. The reason I say that is because, for me personally, my favorite WrestleManias are always inside of the arena, because it's something different about the whole aesthetic and the acoustics of being inside of the arena. It's more confined, so it feels a little bit more intimate in terms of the crowd and the reactions that you get from the crowd. Even if you open with Jey Uso at WrestleMania, if it was in the arena, then that entrance could have been 10 times better. Because in a stadium, again, we're still getting settled in for the whole show. All of the events that go on for WrestleMania, I know it's like a week-long thing where it's just different events going on all through Vegas or wherever they're hosting that year. So just saying that to say, like, it's a lot going on that week. So again, it's a lot of moving parts, and this is the way we're choosing to open up the show, is with the guy that has probably the best natural entrance of all of the wrestlers in terms of crowd participation. And it just was dry. I said all that to get to this point. It was dry. That entrance was super dry, and people could not really do the entrance any justice the way that it deserved to be done. That match needed to go on later on in that night, even if it didn't main event, which we knew it wouldn't, but it still should have went on later on in the evening, so the crowd could have been fully invested into it. And then not only just so we could have got a better crowd reaction and then a better camera shot of the crowd being hyped for Jey Uso, but I hate the fact that when we do these stadium shows that we do them and it's still light outside. Because again, it doesn't look right. The aesthetics of it doesn't look right. Like, it takes away something from the match to me. Maybe I'm overthinking, maybe I'm overdoing it by saying that, but I don't think so, because every time I see a WrestleMania lately and it's at a stadium, I always get that same cringe feeling. I'm like, it's just ugly. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel like the actual event. It feels like, you know, a wrestling show going on outside in a park somewhere. Like, it's almost the equivalent to that. No matter if it's at a stadium or not, it just doesn't fit. That's for football. That's for certain sports. You could be outside or it still be light or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's a football thing. It looks right then. But this is wrestling. The pyro, the lights. It's certain things that the production provides that the daytime takes away from, if that makes any sense. When it's darker, it's like the stage even comes to life. I couldn't really appreciate the stage until it's nighttime. And it's like this for every WrestleMania, because this year's WrestleMania was a nice stage. WrestleMania 41 was a pretty nice stage. But I couldn't appreciate it until we got nighttime, until we got the full effect. So the same thing with the wrestling. It just takes an element away. So I wish it was a way to fix that. I wish it was a way that even if they wanted to continue to do stadium shows, because of course they will, it's the money, right? They're not going to give away they're not going to stop getting money. So I understand why they go to the stadiums, but I wish it was just a way that y'all could start the show later or something, where every match could get the right feel. It could get the right aesthetic that it deserves. I remember WrestleMania 39 when Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley had their championship match. And this is like a prime example. So for any of the true fans, if you haven't seen it already, go ahead and check it out. Just the entrance. Even if you're just a casual fan of wrestling and don't follow it too much, but you're listening to me right now, watch the entrance at WrestleMania 39 for Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. And just the entrances alone show what I'm saying about when it's nighttime for these stadium shows. Everything was just special. Like, everything was perfect. The music was flowing the right way. The lights and the artwork and the graphics on the stage, like everything was just hitting the right way at the right time. So back to Jey Uso and Gunther to open the show at WrestleMania, I think that took an element away from it already. You know, me and I'm pretty sure other people weren't sold on the match as it is. We weren't sold on Gunther versus Jey Uso in the first place, some of us. So to see it lose a dynamic on being in the daytime, again, it just kind of like killed the move for me. It killed the momentum before we even had the match. And then the match itself was just okay. I'm not going to like really go into it and dissect it too much. But one more thing about the entrance that I thought was kind of weird. They had the shot of Jey Uso coming out to the crowd, and the back of his jacket said main event. And it's like, but you opening the show. That's not the main event. And I ain't talking about Jey Uso. I'm talking about whoever decided to let Jey Uso open the show. Like, what are we talking about? Like, why would you wear a jacket that say main event when you open in the show at the biggest show? But anyway, man, I'm not going to go ahead and harp on that. Another thing that stuck out during the match, it was when Michael Cole said that Gunther had just did a dinosaur drop kick. Yeah, like we just gotta tighten up with certain things, because everything has to work well when I watch a match, and I'm pretty sure that's the point, right? WWE, like everything has to work well, everything has to work together. And what I mean by that is the lights, the music, the ring announcer, the person that's ringing the bell, the referee, the commentary. Not only just the action in the ring, but all of those ingredients have to be perfect for the match to be perfect, for the show to be perfect. And the commentary can sometimes make or break the action in the ring. And again, that's why Jim Ross has always been one of my favorites, along with Jerry the King Lawler. I felt like it was just flawless, whatever was going on in the ring. Those two just had a certain magic about them where they could just make everything work. You know, maybe it's because Jerry Lawler is one of the biggest legends in his own right when it comes to actual wrestling and promoting himself. So he knows the business like the back of his hand. But the same thing with JR. They just know how to bring something out of matches that even if the match wasn't that great, they just bring a certain emotion and a certain insight to it that'll make you get involved. Michael Cole is good. Again, I'm not here to do that because I just gave him praise for being in it this long. But dinosaur dropkick, come on, man. Let's stop it. Let's do a better job, because it hurts. It hurts not only the match, but it hurts the move set too. Because just call it a dropkick if we can't come up with an appropriate name or something that's a little bit something more slick than that, because a dinosaur drop kick, and I don't mean to spend too much time on that. I think the only reason that I'm pointing that out is because that's an example of a lot of the commentary that we would hear sometimes over the years. It's just things like that, and it makes the product seem very childish. You know, so that's the only reason that I wanted to point that out, because sometimes the thing that you could say or how you could describe the action could really make or break it. So I just hope that that's something that gets worked on, because it just stuck out to me. I'm like, what that man just say? Another thing that stuck out to me when I was watching this match was, I don't even know what made this just come across my mind, because it had nothing to do with the actual match. But when I was watching the match, I said that Vince McMahon would be disgusted if he saw how the ring looked right now. And I mean that they have all of these advertisement like logos inside of the ring now. Now they're advertising different things with the WWE mat, the actual mat that the wrestlers are wrestling on. And they have like, I mean, I don't even know what the brands were. I mean, I'm familiar with SNK. I think that's a video game company, if I'm not mistaken, SNK. So I'm kind of familiar with them, but it don't matter. Whether I'm familiar with them or not, why is it on the ring and then in the middle of the ring? Vince McMahon was probably having a fit when he saw all that graffiti in the ring, because that's what it almost felt like. It almost felt like graffiti in the ring, because it was just too much of it. If you just had one thing on the surface of the mat, that might have been okay, but y'all overdid it. It was just logos all over the ring, and it just looked terrible. It really did. And I agree with Vince McMahon. You just don't need all of that on the mat. The main focus is the action. You could promote those things like it's always been promoted on the side of the ring, like the ring aprons or the barricades, like where the fans in the front row are. A lot of times they have or sometimes they have advertisement on the barricades. So it's ways to include advertisement, but for it to be on the actual mat, and then the way that they did it, like it was just ugly. Like even when they tried to do the Prime, Logan Paul's Prime logo in the middle of the ring, even that took some getting used to, because I didn't really like that. Like I liked it for Logan Paul, like, you know what I'm saying, I appreciated what it was for Logan Paul, and shout out to him and him doing his thing with Prime. I heard that they just hit a big number. I forget off the top of my head, but basically they doing really successful with the Prime drink. But when they put Prime in the middle of the ring, the logo for the Prime drink, I thought that was crazy. Like it just didn't look good. It didn't make sense for real, like in the aesthetic of it. But it was okay because it was just one thing. Now you plaster all of these different logos and advertisement in the ring, and it just, again, it kind of took something away from it. It really did, because I don't know how to explain it. It's like maybe I'm strict, but when you really think about it, this was Vince McMahon's rule. So it's just not me. I really understand why Vince thought that way, because not only do you not need it, but he wants the focus to just be on WWE once the competitors are in the ring. And that's all that the focus should be on. And when I'm watching all of that plastered on the mat, I'm still paying attention to the action in the ring, but I can't help but to notice that. And not to take a shot at Cody, but it's like the Cody Rhodes neck tattoo. It's like, it's distracting is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just there for no reason, like just in your face for no reason. A bit crazy looking, you know what I'm saying? It's just too much. It's too much. So anyway, that just kind of like nitpicking, but Vince McMahon didn't think so. And for this one, I agree with Vince. So moving on to night 2, I think now I am gonna need my notes a little bit more, because night 2, I don't really remember that much. Like, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I thought it was an interesting choice that they chose to open night 2 of WrestleMania the way that they closed night 1. And that's with a triple threat match. Thought that was an interesting choice. I don't know if it was good or bad. I just thought it was interesting, because this match turned out to be one of the best matches in WrestleMania as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, I almost just say it was the second best match. So again, that's why I say it's an interesting choice that they chose to do the triple threat matches essentially back to back. It definitely was a banger of a match. I still stuck by what I said with this one. It's not like the Seth Rollins triple threat match. I still meant what I said with this match, because they still could have just kept it Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, because they were the ones, from what I remember, again, that made the match. Now, I will go back and say that I want to shout out to Io Sky. I want to give Io Sky credit. I don't want to say that Io Sky was a bad wrestler or nothing like that, because as I alluded to, we know what she's capable of as well. But I do stick by what I was saying. I felt like we could have did this match without her. She did do her part, and I'm happy for that, you know what I'm saying, because the match wasn't terrible. It was a great match, and her spots in there were okay. I didn't like the finish, because, like I said, she shouldn't have won that match. I'm disappointed in that. I really am. But it is what it is. Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, they definitely delivered. So I am a little bit disappointed, because again, I hate to see like rematches. So even if they do Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair later at a WrestleMania, it's gonna be a classic. But for me, it's just gonna be a little bit tainted, because they already essentially had a match with this match, and then they lost to Io Sky. Io Sky retained her championship against these two. So for me, this was a disappointment. The match was great. The match was a great match, but two things could be true at the same time. And in this case, I hated the finish, because I hated Io Sky being a part of that match, but the match was a banger. So I guess I'm not gonna speak on that too much. I did see a clip of Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley embracing and hugging after the match. I think like they were in the backstage area or something like that. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing. You know what I'm saying? Again, see, that's why I love professional wrestling. And I love my world of hip hop, but I hate my world of hip hop at the same time. We have a love and hate relationship because I wish we could see more of this. We need to take something from this because a lot of people say that wrestling is fake, especially from my community. They love to point out that wrestling is fake, but in a lot of ways, I feel like the shit we do in my community is fake. I feel like a lot of things we do in hip hop is fake. At least in professional wrestling, these people are going out here and having problems on screen and fighting it out in the sake of competition, whether it's scripted or not. But they also have a certain level of respect for each other and an admiration for each other, and the way that you can see people get along and the way that they embrace and the way that they're connected. They have a brotherhood and a sisterhood from this thing that they all love, and they're able to travel the world and make money from it. On the other side, we dying and going to jail. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to even go that route because that's for a whole different show. Not episode, but I got a whole different show where we'll talk about those type of things. But I just had to throw that out there because seeing Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley embrace that way, you just love to see that. Because again, for me, I'm being biased because I wanted to see them go against each other in particular. But to just see that, because it's not the first time I've seen that. You see that with a lot of guys now with social media. You see the behind the scenes and you see how much these people just really rock with each other. Like they really care about each other. They don't have to like each other per se because we humans. Everybody not gonna get along and like each other, but they're professional enough and they're mature enough to put petty differences aside to do the ultimate thing, and that's make money and make history. So we have to get to that in hip hop and in my community overall. But again, that's a whole different show, a whole different mood. But I had to touch on that because this was beautiful to see that. I love to see that because it was a good match. So anyway, with that being said, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, it was a good match. I just want to touch on the entrances. As a true fan, sometimes with me, I might not even like a match, but I will watch the entrance of the wrestler. I won't even have to like the match a lot of times. And I did like this match, the triple threat match with Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky. But the entrance of each wrestler was great too. The entrances was great too. I liked all of the entrances, but I particularly loved the mask that Rhea Ripley had on. I thought the mask was dope. I said that. I'm like, damn that. I'm like, she snapped with that mask. That she killed it with that. Because a lot of times you see wrestlers come out with different props. Because a lot of times for WrestleMania, you see people come out with special costumes or special outfits. The mask was so subtle, but she killed it with that. So shout out to Rhea Ripley for her entrance. I love the mask. Bianca Belair, what else can I say, man? I just think she's just dope. She's dope for professional wrestling, not as a woman professional wrestler, but as a professional wrestler in general. And then, yeah, for the black community, you know what I'm saying? Because I try to keep race separate from wrestling because I have my thoughts about race in wrestling, and that's something that we will cover on this show at some point. But I have to bring it up. I have to bring race up in wrestling in terms of Bianca Belair because of the positivity of it, the way that she represents black women and young black girls. You know, it's special. It's special to see that. And she always makes it a point in her WrestleMania entrances to do something of that effect, to do something to put a spotlight on young black girls in a positive way. And that's what I'm all about. These are like real issues when it comes to my community, is the way that we're viewed in the world and how we're perceived on camera and in character. And with Bianca Belair, I love the way that she represents for black women and young black girls. And this interest was just special to me because of that. And I'll tell you why. It's interesting that they used the double dutch and the jump rope to illustrate and paint this picture for Bianca's entrance, because it's so subtle But in my mind, I feel like that's one of the things that's lost in the black community and with our young black women. Again, it seems so subtle, but it was just, it's an innocence about jump rope and double dutch that I felt like used to be there. And I felt like that innocence has been lost now for different reasons. And again, that's for a different show, but I have to touch on it now and I have to talk about it now because Bianca Belair, she's such a great visual representation for black women. And I love that she reintroduced the jump rope and the double dutch because it might seem so small for most people, but for me, again, the devil's in the detail. That is something that's been lost on our young black girls. And it was such an innocence to it and such a skill to it. And now I feel like it's just lost now. Now I feel like it's different things that captivate our young women and our young men. And a lot of negative things, if I'm just going to be honest about it. So Bianca's WrestleMania entrances have always been something to this degree, to this effect. It's always been something to highlight young black women in a positive light. So I love that. So I had to just take a little bit of time to speak on that because those things, like, it means something to me. Not only is it WrestleMania on the big stage, so I'm already fired up as a true fan, but then when I'm seeing things like that, that's even speaking to me on a more personal level. And I have a daughter more recently, so it just means something to me. It meant something to me before I had my little daughter, but now I have a daughter, so it means even more to me now because these are the images that I want her to see as well as all young black women, because I hope that us as black people, we stop just worrying about our kids and worry about these children. And a wise man said that once upon a time, and that man was Tupac. So rest in peace, Tupac. Shout out to Bianca Belair. Let's go ahead and move on. I took a little bit of notes for Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. And as you guys know, I did not want this match to happen. Didn't like the idea of it. But with that being said, I can always give credit where credit is due. And these are two guys that I think have a bright future. I just didn't want to see them have a match against each other. The finish of the match, the ending of the match kind of speaks towards that because somebody has to lose, right? So Damian Priest lost this match. And I'm not mad at it because you guys know that I think Drew McIntyre should be having a big year coming up. You know, now that the Seth Rollins thing has happened, maybe not. But again, that's always my problem. I feel like it's the Seth Rollins problem. I felt like Seth Rollins kept getting pushed to the back to make room for Roman Reigns to be the top guy. Now I keep feeling like Drew McIntyre is being pushed to the side for everybody to be a star. And it's kind of ironic. But like I say, they might be just holding on, keeping people in the back pocket or keeping storylines in the back pocket because that's really what we just saw with Rollins. You know, I didn't know why he kept being pushed to the side, but now it makes perfect sense. You know, I get it. And I alluded to that. Sometimes you have to keep things and wait for later. It's greater later, as they say. So I'm hoping that's the thing with Drew McIntyre, and that's the reason why he's been in top spots. And in this WrestleMania, he won, just like he won the title last year. So he really has been having a nice streak at WrestleMania. Of course, he lost with the cash-in to Damian Priest last year, but that was just a cash-in. That was just like, you know, something that they just add into it. We got to keep in mind that he won the actual match, though. The original World Heavyweight Championship match with Seth Rollins. And then now in this year's WrestleMania, he won against Damian Priest. So with that being said, I'm not even going to talk about the match really at all. That's just something y'all can go ahead and check out. But I will speak about the entrances because I love the entrance. I love the entrance for Damian Priest. You know, it's ironic because, again, like I say, when you watch these episodes, you're going to see parallels and you're going to see the continuity of the things that I say. And on one episode, I spoke about how last year's WrestleMania Night 1, it didn't feel like WrestleMania until The Rock made his entrance. And part of the thing that made his entrance special was the element of fire that they added and that he stood in the ring of fire holding up his People's Championship. And just the shot of it and the whole entrance in itself, it felt like WrestleMania, finally, no pun intended, at that time. So to fast forward to this WrestleMania Sunday night, Damian Priest, his entrance involved fire as well. And it involved a live performance of his song. And I just want to say, they snapped. They killed this. They really did. Sorry, I don't know the name of the band. I'm not even familiar with the song that much. But the guy that was playing the guitar to open up for this song, or to lead us into the song, the open of the song, he snapped. Like, he went in. He really did. He really did go in. This was one of the better musical performances, because sometimes the musical performances don't always go as well as they can go, I'll say, for lack of a better term. But with this one, everything was perfect with the music. This was a great song, and it brought it out. It brought the song out, because this is like a newer song of Damian Priest over the past year, maybe, or a little less than a year. And it started to grow on me little by little. But with this live performance, it really hit for me. So now I'm a fan of this song. And then his entrance with the fire, this was one of the better entrances of the whole WrestleMania night, honestly. So I'm happy for Damian Priest for that. Like, at least he could get that. At least he was able to get a good entrance, because he's somebody that I feel like he has the potential moving forward. He's the guy who's going to be here for the next 10 years. So I get why he lost to Drew McIntyre, because it's for that reason. Because now we have to start keeping Drew McIntyre in the pocket of being hot and keeping a certain momentum. And Damian Priest can afford to take this loss. You guys all know when I did episode 2, the fantasy booking, I would have preferred to see Damian Priest versus Roman Reigns. And so now that we're here talking about this match, and I talked about the triple threat match already, this is a good time to bring that up. Everything that I alluded to in episode 2, you guys could go back and check that out. Damian Priest and Roman Reigns showed that in their individual matches. And if we were able to combine that, we would have got a classic, because they kind of did everything that I felt like they would do at a WrestleMania. They show improved with their style of wrestling. Roman Reigns, it was a moment where Roman Reigns in the triple threat match where he jumped over the barricade. He dived over the barricade to get at CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And I thought that was a great move from Roman Reigns, and the look of it and everything, it was perfect. Imagine getting that, with Damian Priest. Like, it just would have felt different in a way, because we hadn't seen Roman Reigns do that before. So it was cool for that match to introduce a new element. But again, it's something about introducing new things with a new opponent, because we've seen Roman Reigns go to war with these guys or fight these guys that he had his match with in one shape or form or another. We haven't seen him go against the young lions that are up and coming. And I think that's a story in itself. Like, the fact that you're seeing Roman Reigns pull out new tricks to show these young guys that, hey, I'm still the king. Like, don't get that twisted. You know what I mean? Like, I might not have a title, but I'm still the guy. And that type of move, to jump over the barricade, to do that in a match with like a Damian Priest, with Damian Priest being a bigger guy, somebody that could legitimately like get an edge over Roman Reigns. See, it's like those small details are the things that I think about. And I feel like if you would have combined those two competitors together, we would have got a classic that a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected. And it just would have fit, because again, we're showing the young lion trying to take down the king, but the king not going. And some of the things Roman Reigns was doing in that match, to apply that to Damian Priest could have still lost the match, but it just would have helped him moving forward to have went to war with a guy like Roman Reigns and almost got the better of him. So I'm going to leave it at that when it comes to both matches, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, and the triple threat match. But the match was good. The match was good. I will say that. Like, it wasn't what I wanted, but the match was good. Drew McIntyre got the W. I like it for Drew McIntyre. I just hope that he doesn't get lost in this whole Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman takeover, because that's really what that's about to be. But since I'm on that subject, one more time, I know I keep talking about that triple threat match. I also said that I would like to see Seth Rollins have a group, a stable, and be the Monday Night Messiah character again from previous years when he had the AOP. It looked like we're going in that direction, and that's why I couldn't be more proud of that. I would love to see Drew McIntyre be a part of that. Now, we're going to get to it soon or in the next episode. I'm not sure. I might add it to this. We're going to get into Monday Night Raw as well. Maybe I might just get into it now since we're talking about it. We're going to get into Monday Night Raw as well and review that. And the highlight from Monday Night Raw, which everybody already know anyway, is that Braun Breaker has just joined the Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins alliance. So now they're actually building the stable for Seth Rollins. So it's just interesting that everything that I was mentioning to my people over here at Worldwide Classics, this is what's happening, because this is the only thing that can happen for Seth Rollins to be a superstar. And obviously Triple H thinks that it's that time. And I'm happy for that. I'm proud of that. And we're getting the stable. I just wish that Drew McIntyre could be a part of it somehow. I really do. Because I really do feel like Drew McIntyre is that important to the WWE. I feel like he's been in the background for a long time. And I hope that Seth Rollins doesn't overshadow Drew McIntyre. But if he's not a part of this new alliance with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, I feel like he will be overshadowed unless they just move him over to SmackDown. He might be at SmackDown already. Again, as you guys know, I wasn't really following WWE too closely until WrestleMania, but hopefully he's already at SmackDown, because if Drew McIntyre is on Raw, Seth Rollins is going to overshadow anything that McIntyre can and will be able to do. So if Drew McIntyre still is on Monday Night Raw, I would love to see him be a part of this group. Now, they added Braun Breaker, so I don't know if that's going to happen, because now you kind of already got like, you know, the powerhouse type of guy, because most groups in professional wrestling always have like the big man, if you want to say. It look like Braun Breaker is going to be the muscle. I guess we could go with that word. Most groups have the muscle, and it looks like Braun Breaker could be the muscle for Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins. And that's not a bad move. That was a great move, actually. I love that. I still mean what I said. I hope Braun Breaker is getting better when it comes to just in-ring work, and that he's not, you know, going too crazy out here. But other than that, it's a great move. Like this is what you do with your younger talent, and it gives us something fresh. We just can't keep going with the same thing. It's time to switch it up for real. You have Braun Breaker, and now you're putting him with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, and this is how you should build talent. We have to start giving us different looks and giving us things that the people just want. I mean, that's what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to give the fans what they want. And this is the type of thing that changes everything. And that's what we saw happen. Everything is up in the air now, and we're really tuning in every week to see what they do. And this is the way it should be. This is professional wrestling at the highest level. So I'm going to always be the first to admit it, whether I'm right or wrong. And in this case, I was a little bit of both. But you know what? I take that back. I was more right than wrong, because a lot of the things that I said needed to happen have happened. And now I'm excited. And I haven't been as excited about it in a while, I will say that. But to see Braun Breaker now join Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, now it just leaves the door open for so many things, because now we really don't know what's about to happen. You still got John Cena doing his thing, and now that he's the 17-time WWE champion, who knows what's about to happen. You still got The Rock that could play a part. And speaking of that, you know, I was wondering, where was The Rock with all of this? And more recently, he has spoken out about it and said that he felt like the spotlight shouldn't be on him and it should focus on John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And I could respect that. I really could. It still should have been a way that we could have explained that within the storyline. He could have did a promo or something and just said, you know, I'll let John Cena, you got it. Like, it's Cody Rhodes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just something to storyline wise to close that loop. But he did speak about it, and I mean, and that makes sense, because you know, like I said, some people argue that he didn't have to be a part of it before, but obviously me and the guy that owns TKO, I don't think I can pronounce his name, Ari Emanuel or something like that. Obviously me and Mr. Emanuel, obviously we agree on that. The Rock has to be involved in certain things. Again, we over here Worldwide Classics, man. I'm not going to give it to you if it's not real. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to go figure it out and get it right. And I've already alluded to that. Like The Rock, whether people want to admit it or not, The Rock is important. And he's definitely important to the wrestling business. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I say, I got an episode about certain wrestlers, and they'll get their own time where I explain a lot of things. So I don't want to say too much about The Rock yet, but he's earned that spot. He's earned that spot, and to see people really have an issue with him being involved in any way he wants is crazy. So Mr. Emmanuel feels the same type of way about the type of star that The Rock is. Because when I say star, superstar, the thing that we're trying to get Seth Rollins to, the thing that Roman Reigns is at, but he still hasn't got all the way there yet. Maybe we could say megastar, because it's levels to being a star. It's levels to everything, including being a star. Maybe The Rock is a megastar because he's been one of the highest grossing actors in the box office for the past few years. We can't ignore these things. If it was just so easy, then multiple guys would be able to do these things to be number one at the box office for years on end. But to be able to do it in 2 different leagues is impressive. And the fact that he could do it in any league now is even more impressive. Like, some people leave their past in the past. The Rock is still very much involved in WWE as ever, even when he's not physically there. The spirit of what he's done now is there, especially over the past 2 years. But the fact that he could just pop up after 5 or 6 years, and it's like he never left, that's a testament to how good he really is. But beyond all of that stuff about how good he is in WWE, now I'm just talking dollars and cents and numbers. This is what I mean by a star. When I say star about The Rock, like, he's a star. He's bringing people to the product. He's bringing watchers and viewers to WWE that wouldn't otherwise be there. You see what I'm saying? Because this is business. That's why you have people in WWE that, even when it comes to matches, there's certain matches that they're going to make strictly on business, because the bottom line for businessmen is money. So again, I understand nuances of certain things. And when we come down to dollar and cents, nobody in the WWE is generating the type of interest that The Rock could generate. And it's just that simple. And it shouldn't be something that, like, makes somebody feel a type of way. The Rock has earned that, but again, he's went out, not only has he earned it in the wrestling business, but again, he's went out into another field and another world, and that's the world of acting. And he's dominated that space just as much as he's dominated professional wrestling. Again, that's impressive. It's more than impressive. I just can't even come off with the right word on the top of my head, but I will in a future episode directly for that topic. But it's impressive to be able to be the best in different sports, per se. And then being good at another sport, that sport makes you a world-renowned star. A lot of times, wrestling is just wrestling, meaning you could be a wrestling star, meaning that only wrestling fans know who you are. See what I'm saying? Like, this is again the point of level of stardom. Like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a perfect example, because in the world of professional wrestling, he's evolved to the tribal chief. Like, it's more than just the name or whatever, or alias. It's actually like that type of feeling. He gets acknowledged in that way because he really is like a tribal chief type figure to us now. Like, he really is the king in a lot of ways when it comes to professional wrestling. Even with how highly regarded he is with wrestling fans, he still isn't a household name yet. And that's the thing about being a superstar or a megastar. See, the WWE wants to get wrestlers to be household names, because it's a man named Vince McMahon that was the king of that. And whether whatever's going on with Vince McMahon is what's going on, and he has to deal with that. But when it comes to this product and it comes to the WWE, which we all love, we can't just forget about or get amnesia to the things that he's done for the world of professional wrestling, because we wouldn't be able to watch it at this level if it wasn't for his commitment to the business. And his commitment to it was, in order for the WWE to be what it is now, he had to have stars, superstars. And it's ironic, because when you think about it, that's why he dropped the word professional wrestler, and he just called it WWE superstars. He called the wrestlers superstars. He didn't even want the wrestlers to be called wrestlers because in his mind they're superstars. Like professional wrestling to him, like it hurt his ears to hear that. You know, it hurts Vince McMahon's ears to hear professional wrestling because to him, he's putting on a product that's just as big or important as something Disney would do. Like he's competing with these type of entities. So he's creating characters, I guess is a great way to say it. He's creating characters and he wants the biggest and best characters. So it doesn't matter what he's going up against. He has characters that's as big as anybody. Like a lot of characters are superheroes these days. Like people going crazy over superhero movies. They're probably the most profitable and watchable movies over the past 5 to 10 years. In that vein of what I'm talking about having big characters, because we not even seeing like movies that's doing well about real life. We not really seeing a lot of great movies that's classics about real life. Everybody is going crazy over fictitious characters. So Vince McMahon, as a businessman, he sees that, or he saw that. He implemented that into the formula that turned into what we love. The only difference is it's not that easy to make those stars as it once was. And there's a lot of elements that go into it. The fact that a lot of people used to look at professional wrestling as like a real sport, and as real fans, we still look at it as a sport. But in the world overall, you got your naysayers now, you got your people that just call it fake, you know? And so with that being said, with people looking at it in that way, when people calling it fake or thinking of it as scripted, now it's lost that certain edge to it where you can't get the stars as easily now. Because now people are almost, I guess, offended, you know, you could say that it's fake. So they won't even tune in, at least the type of people I'm around, the community I'm in. They don't even want to be bothered with wrestling or the WWE for that reason. So nowadays it really takes a special person to be that star that everybody will pay attention to. Because even with a lot of people not liking wrestling or watching it on a regular basis, they still know who John Cena is. They still know who Roman Reigns is, but it's just still not a household name. And household names are Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ric Flair, you know, Dusty Rhodes. There are certain wrestlers from the past that like everybody knows who they are. And that's what Vince McMahon is a genius at. He's trying to get wrestlers to that level. He doesn't care if you're good in the ring. You could be one of the best in the ring. But if he can't figure out a way to make you in the image of a John Cena, not to say you got to be a John Cena, but that level of superstardom. If you can't be a Stone Cold, if you can't be a Rock, I'm pretty sure there's other ones that I'm forgetting about at the moment. But I've named the most important ones because regardless of what people think about Hulk Hogan, that's really the guy that comes to mind when you think about superstardom and household name. For whatever people feel about Hulk Hogan, he's that guy. He solidifies what it is to be a superstar or a megastar in professional wrestling. And so you're trying to get people to live up to that. And in this current time, The Rock is that person. So whether people like it or not, The Rock is that guy. And Mr. Emmanuel, the owner of TKO, he asked The Rock to be at the Elimination Chamber because ticket sales are low. Imagine that, because every post interview or post conference you're hearing that WWE continues to break the ticket gate and they continue to like dominate with the numbers and ticket sales. So, you know, but that's a whole nother issue in itself. But it sounds like somebody lying. But anyway, the stories is like not adding up. It's like somebody not telling the whole truth though. And I don't think it's Mr. Emmanuel. That's why you saw The Rock come back. Like he needed The Rock to come back to get people to get the direction going for WrestleMania. So that's kind of interesting when you think about it. Like Ari Emanuel, he asked The Rock to come back because the ticket sales were low. And that's kind of interesting when you think about it, because the WWE is saying that everything is going through the roof. All type of records are being broken when it comes to ticket sales and viewership. So to hear that Ari Emanuel, the owner of TKO, essentially part owner of the WWE now, or owner, to hear that he needed The Rock to come in to boost sales is telling, because my whole thing about the first episode of Worldwide Classics was just to say how underwhelming WrestleMania 41 was. So if Ari Emanuel was bringing in The Rock for Elimination Chamber, and Elimination Chamber was the month before WrestleMania, again, that's kind of tying to what I'm saying. You saw the direction that WrestleMania was heading in, and it just wasn't living up to the hype. And even the owner of the company can see this. And he had to implement The Rock into the storyline to boost it up. And just like last year, The Rock brought a certain level of excitement to it. The whole selling somebody's soul to The Rock, that made people watch. And it delivered with the John Cena heel turn. So again, and I think I alluded to this before. Again, it's not The Rock feeling like he has an ego. Vince McMahon, even before Ari Emanuel, Vince McMahon was the one making that call to The Rock. And Vince McMahon was the one that started this whole thing. And Vince McMahon knows exactly what he's doing. And he consistently calls The Rock whenever he needs him to get that same thing. So again, I don't know why we trying to play these games, or, you know, when people are acting like they're really fans of the WWE, how we trying to disregard that. There's a reason why The Rock is there. And again, even with my critique of WrestleMania, it wasn't me just trying to be a know-it-all fan. Now we're actually getting the logistical proof behind what I'm saying, because I can give you my reasons, but I love when we get all of the technical reasons. I love when the reports come out. And now we don't have to take my word for it, because again, if you think it's just my opinion, or I'm just another wrestling podcast / show, because we're not a podcast over here. This is Worldwide Classic. This is a show that's going to continue to grow. So with that being said, I love when the articles come out and it speak for itself. Ari Emanuel, the owner of WWE, well, the owner of TKO, which owns the WWE, he asked The Rock to come back a month before WrestleMania to help generate ticket sales, to help boost sales. But I feel like it was to boost the anticipation of excitement of WrestleMania as well. And those are one of those things that why WrestleMania didn't feel like WrestleMania, because The Rock wasn't directly involved with it. But you still give your hats off to The Rock for letting it be what it was, because you did just want to get a spotlight to John Cena and Cody Rhodes. The only thing that I would say about that's kind of BS, because one thing about me is I'm not for anybody. I don't have no dog in a fight. I just love professional wrestling. I'm a true fan, so I'm just walking a straight line towards the truth and towards what's right. So I can understand Rock's importance to it, and I'm not saying he's the one who's BSing. We don't know what's really going on behind the scenes when it comes to this, because it could be an internal issue of why The Rock didn't come back, and that's why I'm calling it BS, because it must be something more going on behind the scenes of what we know, or what the quote unquote wrestling professionals and reporters, what they think they know. With all of the news scoops or whatever. That's another thing here at True Fan. We don't think we know it all, but we know enough. And we're going to give you some substance to the things that we're seeing going on. And with that being said, I think you're hearing it here first. I feel like it's something internal going on between The Rock and the WWE that kept him away from it too. And I say that because if we were going to keep the spotlight directly on Cody Rhodes and John Cena, then why involve Travis Scott? Why have Travis Scott come down and play any type of role in that match? And I'm not knocking it, because I'm happy for Travis Scott, because you see, I'm a true fan. I would have loved to be in that spot that Travis Scott was in. I would have loved it, and I'm pretty sure that was one of the greatest things he's ever done. You know what I mean? Like from a personal level. I'm pretty sure that's something that is like a bucket list type of thing. So in terms of individual, I know that was a great thing for Travis Scott. But in terms of the actual storytelling, it wasn't necessary at all, especially if you wasn't going to bring The Rock out, because, you know, no disrespect to Travis Scott, but what difference was he physically going to make in the match? You see what I'm saying? Like, he had an entrance and everything. Like, he coming down, like, he had an entrance, like he was going to come down and actually do something in the ring. And it just was unnecessary, especially for like what John Cena is talking about and his whole angle right now, his whole character, because you could argue that it was a heel thing to do since he's a heel now. But I felt like just doing backhanded things in the ring was good enough to play heel. He didn't need Travis Scott to come down to let it set in that he's a heel now. I felt like Travis Scott, if anything, should have came down after the match, after John Cena celebrated or whatever, held up the title for a little while. Then Travis Scott music should have came on, and then he could have came down there, and then they did the celebrating and the things they do for the photo ops, and you know how that go. And I felt like that would have been more appropriate, because then John Cena could have really had an argument of that he did it without any help. He did it without any outside noise, that he made it happen. Even if he did cheat within the ring, it don't matter, because he didn't have anybody else involved. And I think that would have made this whole thing even stronger than what it is, because it's still a strong angle. So I'm not knocking it. I still like that he won the championship, but it's the little things, it's the details. And you know that now about me, is it's the little things. And that subtle difference, like not involve Travis Scott, especially if The Rock in real life is coming out and saying that he didn't participate in WrestleMania because he didn't want to overshadow John Cena and Cody Rhodes, then Travis Scott shouldn't have either. So that's the only reason I'm calling the BS on that, and not because of The Rock, but clearly something is going on deeper than what we understand. And that's okay, we won't know everything, but it's a disappointing thing, because WrestleMania just didn't feel all the way there, with at least an appearance. Even with The Rock, like he could have, same thing with Travis Scott. He could have just came down after the match was over, but it was cool, especially because John Cena act like he don't want no accolades anyway. He just want the title. So even in that aspect, I felt like it still matched, because John Cena is coming down with no graphics, just all black, just his name, John Cena. See, that's what I'm saying. Certain things can match up and connect. If y'all going that route where he don't care about pyro and all of these things, then he wouldn't have cared if The Rock came down after the match and overshadowed, because he got the job done. So why would John Cena care if The Rock coming down to celebrate with him? It don't matter, because he's got the 17-time World Championship. He has the 17-time WWE Championship. So in that regard, it would have made sense for The Rock to still come down after the match with Travis Scott. But anyway, you just hear it here first from true fans from Worldwide Classics. But anyway, I still like John Cena winning the WWE Championship. So to segue over into Monday Night Raw, I love the whole entrance with John Cena. I love that. I loved the overuse of the pyro, because at first I thought it was funny that they were like overdoing it with the pyro, because I thought that was just something they were doing as like to be funny, that he was being like, conceited, like overly conceited, so he needed extra pyro. But the more I thought about it, this is the first time we've seen somebody be a world champion 17 times. He's broken the record. So I guess the over pyro was really more for that than it was for John Cena having an ego. Because I laughed at first and I thought it was that. I thought it was just for John Cena trying to flex that he's accomplished this. But it was more of a celebration too. Because when you really think about his storyline aside, regardless how I feel about WrestleMania, now that it's sunk in, it is special to see it, because obviously I'm a historian, so it is special to see this. This is the first time we've seen somebody win at this level, 17 times the WWE champion. So shout out to John Cena. Y'all already know I've never been a big John Cena fan, but I could appreciate what's going on, and I could appreciate this now. And I love history, so that's cool to see that. So the over pyro, it was necessary, and it was a good look. I love the feel of that. And then what he did with the ring announcer, when he made the ring announcer come back in the ring, and he handed him a sheet of paper with what he needed to say. And then the ring announcer said that he was informed that his introduction of John Cena was deemed disrespectful. I love all of that. I love all of that. See, now I feel like, I don't know why it took to after WrestleMania, but this is the level of promo and the feel of WWE that we should have. This is WWE performing at the highest level. And it's all of these subtle things. And I love that. And then the thing that took it over the top for me is the fact that I don't know if this guy is new. I don't know if this is a new ring announcer, but he a pretty damn good ring announcer. And even when he introduced John Cena the first time, I said, damn, okay, I like what they got going on. Like, I like this. Like, the ring announcer, I like that because I'm such a true fan of it. Again, everything matters. And your ring announcer is so important. That's why Samantha Irvin was so vital to the things that was happening over the past couple years. And shout out to Samantha Irvin. You still the best to do it, in my opinion. But this new guy, he about to give you a run for your money. I ain't even gonna lie to you. He really that good. And I just got an eye and an ear for talent. And just off the rip, I heard it. I heard it off the first introduction. And that's why I love the promo so much, because obviously the guys who are in charge of WWE know how great this guy is too. And I think that was a reason why they kind of wrote that into the storyline of him having to come back and reintroduce John Cena again, is because he's that good of a ring announcer. So it was funny that John Cena made him do that and say it the right way. But it was also necessary because that guy is really that good. And it was almost like they wanted to reiterate that to the audience and to the crowd right away, that they've struck gold with their new ring announcer. Like, that guy, he killed it. So I love it. I love all of it. I love John Cena in this way. Now that he has the title on him, I think it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like everything is coming back now to him, because I sense that he was still trying to fit back into it, and rightfully so, because he's been away from it and into the acting world for so long, and he's got acclimated to his acting role. And it's not easy to just jump back into something, you know, when, like, in terms of your craft. And I know that firsthand, being a former artist and diving into these different, and then doing these different ideas and shows and different creative projects that I have. I understand how hard it is to jump back and forth into different things, even if you've done it at a high level for a long time. So to see John Cena come back into wrestling, you saw it slowly but surely that, you know, it's taking a little time to fully get into it. Now that he has the title, I think that everything has clicked all of a sudden. And I can't wait to see him work. I can't wait to see his in-ring work moving forward, because I think that will show as well moving forward, because the character is in that groove now. And I think the title helped, because it's something about him having that title. He's always had it during his 10-year run of dominance, when he was the Roman Reigns of his generation. That title, him and that title, they're synonymous with each other. You won't see one without the other during his time on top. So to him have that again, it almost like it completes the character in a way, if that make any sense. Like those of you who are really into acting, certain actors can't fully get into a character until they're in the costume, till they have the right clothes and accessories and things of that nature. And I feel like it's that instance with John Cena now. Having that title was the final piece to what makes John Cena who he is. And now that he has that title, everything is just flowing. Everything is flowing and going. Everything is clicking. And I love what he did about the dates. I forgot what it started with, but then he started naming the events off, because I thought it was like 30 something, like 32 events, 32 dates that he said originally or something like that. But then I guess those were the original numbers when he, you know, like the original numbers of dates before he started any of it. So he started naming off the dates that he had already appeared for. And then he got down to 27 dates. And even that, again, it's so subtle, but I love it because it's different. We've never seen this scenario before of a guy of this magnitude calling his shot and telling you that he's going to retire at a certain time frame, that he's going to have 1 year left. So we've already never seen this before, but then I like the fact that they're going to accentuate on that. And with things like the 27 date, I love that. I really do, because now that's going to be baked into the story. Now, as he continue to make appearances, those of us that really care, we're going to start subtracting. We're going to start counting down now, because that's essentially, I think, the reason why they set that up, because now it's like a countdown. Now he only has 26. dates left, I guess, since he just did Monday Night Raw. And then he got RKO at the end by Randy Orton, his next opponent at Backlash. And for those of us that really follow it, we knew that Randy Orton, or had a feeling that Randy Orton would have the next title match at Backlash, really just due to the fact that it was going to be in St. Louis, and that's Randy Orton's hometown. So we just naturally assumed that Randy Orton would be getting a title match in his hometown, and it's just poetic justice. It's John Cena. They basically got into the WWE around the same time, and they've grown in the business together. And Randy Orton's not far behind. Randy Orton is at 14 WWE championships, so their careers are almost a parallel of each other. So we knew that we were going to get Randy Orton and John Cena at some point during this final year, but it's kind of a cool thing that we're going to get it this way. A title match in Randy Orton's hometown. It's just little things like that, again, where you got to give credit to Triple H and the team over there at WWE, because obviously this is something that's been well thought out and has been planned out. And again, it's the subtle details for me as a true fan that I could really appreciate. And I love the fact that this was thought out in that way to get us this moment where we're gonna get Randy Orton and John Cena one more time for a WWE championship. And then it being in Randy Orton's hometown, it just makes it extra special, because now that crowd, I'm gonna guarantee that crowd is gonna go crazy. I guarantee you that this is going to be one of the better crowds that we've seen, and rightfully so, because they better. Because if they don't go crazy for Randy Orton, something wrong with y'all out there. And I know St. Louis is going to get it in, so I'm expecting that crowd to go crazy. And again, it's just those small touches where, again, Triple H, you got it, man. You know what I mean? I didn't agree with everything at WrestleMania, but I'm so happy at what you got going on. I'm proud of what you're doing. I mean, I already know you don't give a damn what we talking about, but just from a true fan, I really do appreciate what we're getting now, because now you're getting into that groove where you're providing something for everybody. You know, this is that thing that Vince McMahon was the best at. He was finding something for all ages, for men and women alike, and people of all ages. And Triple H is really doing that. He's really getting something that the kids can get into, as well as the grown people like me that's been following it since we were kids. It's a pretty cool thing to accomplish when you think about it. And right now, we're in that stride, because this was a great Raw after WrestleMania, and John Cena opening the way he did with that interview, and then closing with the RKO. It's a moment. Like, we're getting those moments, and this Raw after WrestleMania had moments. I won't get into everything. There's other wrestling shows where I'm pretty sure they're gonna give you in depth. I'm just giving you kind of like main points, and again, WrestleMania was like a big show, so I really wanted to speak on that in different ways. Shows like Monday Night Raw, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I don't know if I'm gonna be watching Monday Night Raw every week. It's a good chance now because of Seth Rollins and what they're doing. It's a possibility, but I'm not gonna lie to my people. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't know if we're gonna be getting a review every week on what's going on. Worldwide Classics, we're going to be talking about different wrestlers and different scenarios, and telling stories about, you know, just why we love professional wrestling. But we're going to try to do our best to keep reviews going as well. But that all depends on the product. That all depends on what they do at WWE. If they continue to deliver great matches and great storylines, then we'll continue to follow what they got going. If not, then we'll just make it happen ourselves. We'll just book it the way that we see fit, and we'll make professional wrestling what we feel like it should be. And that's what Worldwide Classic is all about. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all for watching. This episode been a deluxe, supersized version of a WrestleMania review. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We had a lot to cover. I wanted to sneak in Monday Night Raw while I could. From over here at Worldwide Classics, full-time digital house, I'm Southside Tre. Holla at y'all later, man.